Hello everyone! In this video I would like to introduce the syllabus for ECON 6305 Section 70, Seminar in Microeconomic Theory. First of all, how can you get a hold of me? How can you contact me? Since this is an online course for most of you, probably the easiest way of contacting me is my email, which is printed here on the syllabus. I usually respond to emails rather quickly. My goal is within 24 hours you should have a reply from me. Only sometimes over a weekend it might take a little bit longer, but generally I'm pretty responsive. So whenever you have a question, just shoot me an email and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. You can also call me on my office phone during my office hours, which are Wednesdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and the phone number is printed here on the syllabus as well. And for those of you who are in the Amarillo or Canyon area, if you would like to come to campus to my office hours, my office is in Classroom Center 336H. What is this course going to be about? Well, microeconomics, contrary to macroeconomics that some of you might have taken before, is the field of economics that looks at individual decision making. So an individual consumer, an individual household, individual firms, or industries and markets. Whereas in macroeconomics, you're more looking at the big picture questions like, say, unemployment, GDP, things like that. So in this course, we will first start by looking at consumer theory. So we're going to talk about how can we model preferences of consumers? What kind of constraints do consumers face? How do they make optimal choices? In other words, how do they decide how to spend their money? Then we're going to move on to producer theory and look at how firms, companies decide to produce their output. That will depend on what kind of technology do they have available to them, and then also how expensive are the different inputs that they can use. And then lastly, we will look at different market structures and see how that affects the market outcomes. So, for example, are you in a very competitive industry where you have a lot of competitors who produce the same product, or are you almost the only company that provides a good or service? As you can imagine, if you have many competitors, you're going to be restricted in what prices you can charge based on what the other companies are charging, whereas if you're the only one who produces a product, then you have a little bit more freedom in deciding what to charge. So by the end of the course, you should be able to understand how households and firms make optimal decisions given their respective constraints and how these decisions vary with changes of the economic environment. You should also be able to use analytical and graphical methods to solve the consumer and producer problem, and understand how different market structures like perfect competition and monopoly are organized and what the outcomes of these markets are. All of these questions are of practical importance for managers. For example, if the economy moves into a recession and people's incomes goes down, it would be good to know if that means that demand for your product is going to go up or if it's going to go down. Also, as a manager, it's an important question to think about: should we switch towards producing more machine-based? Should we invest in new technology? And lastly, we should also know what's our competition like. Are we a monopoly or are we in a perfectly competitive industry, because that will affect our pricing strategy, for example. Okay, so far I have told you what we're going to learn, and now let's talk a little bit about how we're going to learn it. So first of all, the course materials. The textbook for this class is Microeconomics by Pindyck and Rubenfeld. The newest edition is the 9th edition. That's the one that the bookstore has on file, but the 8th edition is fine as well if you can find a cheaper copy on Amazon. The book is pretty much identical. A couple of examples might be different, but either the 8th or 9th edition will work. You can buy or rent a hard copy from the bookstore or an online retailer. There's also an electronic version of the text directly from the publisher. If you're an MSFE student, I recommend that you get a hard copy of the book, since the electronic copy will only be available for 6 months, and you might want to have the actual copy of the book when you're studying for your MSFE comprehensive exam. Also, on a side note, if it has been a while since you have taken your last economics course, or if you find economics very challenging, then I would recommend you also get any Principles of Microeconomics textbook. As an example, I listed Hubbard and O'Brien's Microeconomics, but could be any Principles of Microeconomics text. Older editions are perfectly fine as well. The only reason I recommend that is that having a Principles textbook will help you to get a little bit more of the background material, so it'll explain some of the concepts on a slightly easier level and give you a large amount of elementary examples and sample problems. So it'll help you catch up a little bit since it's been a while that you've taken that class. But that's the only thing that you'll have to buy for this class. There's no online homework code or anything like that. All of your homework, all of your assignments will be directly through Blackboard. Okay, the part that's usually of great interest to students is how is my course grade going to be determined. So in this class, you're going to be doing 3 different things. You will have a homework assignment for each unit, you will have an industry portfolio discussion board for each unit, and there will be an exam for each of the 3 units. Homework overall will count for 15% of your grade. The industry portfolio discussion boards will count for 15% of your grade. And exams, the best 2 of 3, will count for 70% of your grade. The grading scale is printed as well. I always post grades on Blackboard, also called WT class. If your grade falls between 2 letter grades, so say you end up with an 89.5, then I take a look at your individual grade and look at your entire body of work. And if you look more like an A student than a B student, then I'll give you the higher grade. If all of your grades look more like a B student, then I'll give you the lower grade. Okay. Then a little bit more detail on each of those assignment categories. So for each of the 3 units, you will see a homework assignment on WT class. Each homework consists of multiple choice and a few calculation questions. The due dates are listed in the table on the next page, and we'll go over that in a minute. For each homework, you will have 2 attempts, and I will take the average of your 2 scores. If you're happy with your first attempt, say you get 100 on the first attempt, you do not have to submit a second one. So it's not going to then average out to a 50. If you only submit 1 attempt, that's the one that will count. Homework will always be open the entire duration of the unit, so for that reason, late homework will not be accepted. And all 3 homework assignments will count towards your grade, so you cannot drop a homework. Each of these homework assignments will be worth 5% of your total course grade, which makes the 15% that I showed you above. Then the second thing you're going to be doing on a regular basis is the industry portfolio discussion board. So those will be 3 discussion forums in which you will collect information on a specific industry of your choosing. Before the first forum opens on July 11th, please sign up for one of the industries using the link posted on Blackboard. So I have selected 10 different industries, and you get to choose one, and together with your group, with the other people that work on the same industry, you will collect information on that industry. In the first one, you'll talk about some background information and analyze demand in the industry. In the second one, you will focus on the cost structure. And in the last one, you will identify the form of competition. I will post more detailed instructions on WT class, and I will also talk about how these posts will be graded. So I'll post the grading rubric as well. Each discussion board is worth 5% of your total course grade, so that's again the total of 15%. Lastly, there will be 3 exams throughout this course, and I will drop the lowest exam grade. Each of these 2 highest scores will count for 35% each, so that's the 70% weight on the exams. The first exam will be available Wednesday, July 18th through Sunday, July 22nd, and it closes at 11:59 p.m. Central Time. Note that Blackboard will not adjust to your local time zone, so all the times listed here and all the due dates are in Central Time. And if you are in a different time zone, please adjust accordingly. Exam 1 will cover the material from Unit 1, as you will see below in that little table. The second exam will be available from Wednesday, August 1st through Sunday, August 5th. Once again, 11:59 p.m. Central Time, and will cover the material from Unit 2. And then lastly, the third exam will be available from Monday, August 13th through Thursday, August 16th. That's the last day of summer classes, so for that reason I can't keep it open through the weekend, so it'll have to close on Thursday. You will have 90 minutes for each exam, and the questions will be a mix of multiple choice, calculation, and short answer questions. Then here, this little table of course topics provides an overview over the 3 units that we're going to be covering. The first one you could loosely call consumer theory, so we will talk about supply and demand, consumer behavior, and demand. Those are chapters 1 through 4. In Unit 2, we're going to look at producer theory and then also start diving into competition, chapters 6 through 9. And then lastly, we are going to continue competition in chapters 10 through 12. For each unit, you're going to have a homework, a discussion forum, and an exam. So it's a pretty easy structure for the for the course. 3 units, each unit has homework, discussion forum, and exam. On Blackboard, for each, you will see the following. You will see the folders for the 3 different units, and they'll have the dates on it, so you will know which one to go to. So in the beginning, Unit 1, it'll first summarize the reading for this unit, so I recommend that you take your textbook and you read through the chapters. Going hand in hand with that, I have made a couple of videos that summarize the main points covered in the chapters. So if you open this folder, you will see a link to a series of videos. So follow the link, and you will see the videos popping up. So here's only one. But you can then listen to the video, watch the video, and oftentimes afterwards there are a couple of practice questions, review questions, and then at the end of the chapter videos there are usually also a couple of sample questions that you can work on, and then I provide video solutions afterwards. To be successful in the class, I strongly recommend that you watch those videos and work through the problems that I go over, since that'll help you focus on the points from the chapters, from the readings that are most important. I also posted a folder with practice questions. Those are all multiple choice questions, and those are essentially the publisher's test bank. These questions are purely there for you to practice. They will not be graded, even though they look like a test. There are a lot of questions. I don't expect you to go through all of them, since there are sometimes 100 questions per chapter, so that'd be a little bit much to work through all of them. But take a look and work through as many as you want and can. And lastly, down here you see your link to your homework and then to the Industry Portfolio Discussion Forum. When you click on that, you should see all the different industries pop up, and then just select the one that you signed up for and then contribute to that thread. Please make sure you only post in your industry, because if you post in a different one, you're not going to receive credit for that. Okay, so that's the syllabus for the class. Those are the assignments that you're going to be completing throughout the semester. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out by email.